Hi, welcome back to Historic Eats. Well, it is strawberry season, and today's vintage recipe is full of fresh strawberries. It was wildly popular in the 1960s and 70s and was known as strawberry dream cake. Well, thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't already, click subscribe. On this channel, I like to recreate heirloom recipes that are delicious and have stood the test of time. And then I have a little bit of history stirred in. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, you've come to the right place. Also, you can head over to historiceats.com where you will find printable versions of the recipes there. Today's recipe calls for 1.5 cups of sliced fresh strawberries. And I found that one of these 1-pound clamshell containers has just enough strawberries once you slice them to go into the cake, which is 1.5 cups, and then you'll have just a handful of slices left over that you can just scatter on top of the icing to decorate with. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started.
To start, we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Next, we'll take 1.5 cups of sliced strawberries and add that to a medium saucepan with 1/2 cup of white sugar. And I'm just going to take this over to the stove and put it on medium heat, and I'll just break it down while it's cooking for a couple minutes. While that's cooking, just mash it with a potato masher and get it to break down and reduce, and you want it to cook down to 1 cup in volume. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to put it in the refrigerator to help cool it off. We need it to be room temperature before we can use it. Okay, my strawberries have cooled to room temperature, so we can go ahead and make the cake mix. So start with 1 box of white cake mix. And 1 3-ounce box of strawberry jello. Just going to whisk the dry ingredients together. To that, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of oil, a 1/2 cup of water, and 4 room temperature eggs. And you can put your eggs in some lukewarm water if you just took them out of the fridge to warm them up for you quickly. And then finally, from our strawberry sugar mixture, I just need a 1/2 cup of this. And then with my hand mixer, I'm just going to mix until everything is evenly combined. You don't want to over mix it. All right, that looks good. And next I'm just going to pour it right into my 9 by 13 pan, and I just prepared it with a little bit of grease and flour. It smells really strawberry. Right, that's ready to go. I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean.
To the remaining half cup of strawberry puree, I'm just going to break it down with an immersion blender so it's nice and smooth for the icing.
To a stand mixer, go ahead and add 1 stick of butter, the half cup of strawberry puree, and 3 cups of powdered sugar. I'm going to do this in batches. And then have just a little bit of milk on hand. In case it's too thick, you can thin it with milk, but we'll see how it goes first. Halfway through, just want to scrape down the sides. And add the remaining powdered sugar. Okay. This looks great. I'm really happy with the consistency, and it turns out I did not need to use any additional milk, but just have that handy in case your strawberry puree is a little drier than mine or you use a little bit of extra powdered sugar. I'll just set this aside and it'll be ready for when the cake is cooled.
Strawberry Dream Cake is a vintage recipe widely popular in the 1970s that combines 2 revolutionary ingredients into one dreamy dessert. Strawberries have an ancient history of their own. They appeared in Roman writings as early as 250 BC and were used as both medicine and food. They grew naturally in the Northern Hemisphere on both North American and European continents. At that time, strawberries were not farmed, but rather foraged from woodlands. In the 15 and 1600s, North American strawberries were brought back over to Europe. These New World varieties were superior to European types in size and flavor. Crossbreeding the varieties began in the 1700s to improve the quality of the fruit. By the 1800s, commercial farming and production of strawberries began. Let's fast forward and add this historic ingredient to a new food invention, Jell-O. In New York, 1899, a carpenter, Pearl B. Waite, was trying to invent an effective cough syrup from powdered gelatin and fruit syrup. Instead, he and his wife May ended up creating a flavorful dessert. Lacking the funds, he was unable to successfully promote his confection, and he sold the formula and namesake to Orator Woodward. Woodward began marketing it, and with the advent of refrigeration, Jell-O began to take off. By mid-century, Jell-O was prepackaged, convenient, and easy to prepare. The post-war era and baby boom of the 50s made this dessert popular with housewives looking for a quick, tasty, and visually interesting dish for their growing families. Jell-O recipes began to abound in cookbooks everywhere. Shortly thereafter, in the 1970s, the strawberry dream cake recipe came onto the scene and was published widely in magazines and newspapers. It called for a new use for Jell-O, one that would enhance a cake's flavor, texture, and color. And dreamy convenient too, as it called for not only boxed Jell-O, but also boxed cake mix. This vintage recipe remains an asked-for favorite still 60 years later, and you'll likely come across a version of it in your own grandma's recipe box.
Okay, this came out of the oven at 31 minutes, and it's nice and golden, and I let it cool, so I'm going to go ahead and put my frosting on it. If you make this into 2 8-inch round cakes, obviously you'll need a shorter baking time, but I would tell you to double your frosting recipe because this recipe really will just cover the top of a 9 by 13 cake. And I have some strawberry slices. You can just lay those on there or decorate it however you want.
Well, now to give it a taste. Well, it's really sweet with a lot of strawberry flavor. It just tastes like summertime. It's really good. I hope you try it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget, click subscribe. Go ahead and browse through the channel and check out some of the other recipes. And I hope you tune in again in the future where we will be trying out more historic eats. Until next time, bye-bye.